There are moments in life when everything you thought you knew about someone shatters in an instant. When the mask slips and you see the monster hiding beneath the smile. For Sarah Mitchell, that moment came on a cold Tuesday evening in a half-empty diner in North Carolina, where her manager's true nature finally revealed itself. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't have possibly known, was that the man sitting quietly in the corner booth, the one who'd been watching her all night with careful eyes, wasn't just another customer. He was her husband, a Navy SEAL, and he had just seen everything. Sarah had been working double shifts at the diner for 3 months straight. Her husband, Marcus, had been deployed overseas for nearly a year, and the bills didn't care about loneliness or waiting. She took the job to stay busy, to keep her mind from wandering to dark places where IEDs and ambushes lived. The manager, Dale, was in his late 40s, overweight, with a smile that never quite reached his eyes. From day one, something about him felt wrong. The way he stood too close, the way his hand would linger on her shoulder when he walked past. The comments that made her skin crawl but were always wrapped in just enough plausible deniability that she couldn't quite call him out. She needed this job. She needed the distraction. So she swallowed her discomfort and kept serving coffee with a smile. But tonight, everything was different. Tonight, Marcus had come home early, a surprise she didn't know about yet. And tonight, Dale's patience finally ran out. It started like any other evening. The dinner rush had died down, leaving only a handful of customers scattered across the worn vinyl booths. Sarah was clearing table 7 when Dale approached her, his breath heavy with whiskey. "Need to see you in my office," he muttered, his hand already gripping her elbow. She tried to pull away gently, mumbling something about finishing her tables, but his fingers dug deeper. "Now," he insisted, his voice dropping to something darker. Her heart began to race. She glanced around the diner looking for help, for witnesses, for anything. That's when she saw him. Marcus, sitting in the far corner, his face hidden beneath the shadow of a baseball cap. Their eyes met for less than a second, but that was all it took. She saw the recognition, the understanding, and something else, something cold and controlled that she'd only seen once before, the night he left for his first deployment. Dale dragged her toward the back hallway, past the kitchen where the cook was too busy scraping the grill to notice. Sarah's mind raced. She'd heard the stories, the whispered warnings from other waitresses about girls who'd worked here before, girls who'd quit suddenly, without explanation. "Please," she whispered, trying once more to pull free. "I have customers." Dale laughed, a wet, ugly sound. "They can wait. You and me, we've been dancing around this for months. Time to stop pretending." He shoved open the bathroom door, the single-stall one at the end of the hall that locked from the inside, and pulled her in. The fluorescent light flickered overhead, casting everything in a sickly green glow. He turned the lock with a click that sounded like a gunshot in Sarah's ears. "Now," he breathed, backing her against the sink. "Let's have that conversation." But Dale never got to finish his sentence. The bathroom door, the one he'd just locked, exploded inward with a crack of splintering wood. Marcus filled the doorway, 6 feet 2 inches of controlled violence. He didn't yell. He didn't rush. He simply moved with the kind of precision that comes from 1,000 hours of training, from missions where hesitation means death. Dale barely had time to turn before Marcus's hand was on his throat, lifting him effortlessly off the ground and slamming him against the tile wall. "You don't touch her," Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying more threat in its calmness than any scream ever could. Dale's face went purple, his hands clawing uselessly at Marcus's forearm. "Ever." Sarah had never been afraid of her husband before that moment, but seeing him like this, seeing the raw, barely contained fury in his eyes, she understood something profound. This was the man who'd survived things she couldn't imagine, who'd walked through hell and come back. And right now, every ounce of that darkness was focused on the man who'd dared to hurt his wife. "Marcus," Sarah whispered, her voice breaking through the red haze. "Marcus, stop!" He didn't let go immediately. For 3 long seconds, Dale's feet dangled above the ground, his eyes rolling back. Then slowly Marcus released him. Dale crumpled to the floor, gasping and retching. "You have 10 seconds to get out of this diner," Marcus said, his voice still that same terrifying calm. "If I ever see you near my wife again, if I ever hear you've done this to anyone else, they will never find your body. Do you understand?" Dale nodded frantically, scrambling to his feet and stumbling out of the bathroom, knocking over a mop bucket in his panic. The sound of the back door slamming echoed through the diner. Then silence. Marcus turned to Sarah, and in an instant the soldier disappeared. His hands were shaking as he reached for her face, so gentle now, checking for injuries. "Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" Tears streamed down her face, but she was nodding, laughing, crying all at once. "You're home," she whispered. "You're really home." He pulled her into his chest, and she felt his heart hammering against her cheek, felt the tremor in his arms that betrayed how close he'd been to losing control. "I'm home," he murmured into her hair. "I'm home, and I've got you. Always." They stood there in that dingy bathroom with its broken door and flickering light, holding each other like they might disappear. The other customers had gathered in the hallway, phones out, witnesses to everything. Someone had already called the police. Later, after the statements were given, and the police had left with Dale in handcuffs, after the owner had apologized profusely and begged Sarah not to quit, Marcus and Sarah sat in their truck in the empty parking lot. The sun was rising, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. "I should have told you," Sarah said quietly, "about how he was. I just didn't want to worry you while you were over there." Marcus took her hand, threading his fingers through hers. "I should have been here," he replied, "but I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere." She leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling safe for the first time in months. Sometimes the monsters are closer than we think, hiding behind friendly faces and positions of power. But sometimes, just sometimes, the heroes are closer too, watching, waiting, ready to step in when the darkness gets too close. And as they drove home together, the morning light washing over them, Sarah knew one thing with absolute certainty. She would never have to face the monsters alone again, because her hero had come home, and he was staying.